be more inclined to see at the GoFest side events going on here this weekend. But now that Team Preview's up, it looks like Medicham is going to be that Pokemon, in case you're curious, along with Kyogre, Tapu Koko, Tapu Lele, Lunala, and Nihilego on Graham's side of the field. Aaron bringing that Rayquaza and Kyogre combination that, like you said, he lost to in 2016, along with Gengar, Tapu Koko, Incineroar, and Celesteela.
So it should be pretty interesting to see how this plays out here. Medicham, while a very strong Great League competitor, as you mentioned, not such a frequent competitor in the video game championships. Things to know about Medicham. People, if you're selecting it, almost always for its Mega Evolution. Very frail, but very fast, deals a lot of damage. Wants to be very careful not to allow Trick Room to go up, which potentially Aaron could have, though probably not expecting to see it with so many quick Pokemon at his side of the field. Really strong fighting type attacks, but one thing to worry about in double battles, if you're more of a singles battles player, is that Medicham has to rely on high jump kick, which does a ton of recoil damage if you miss, which includes using high jump kick into a protect. So Graham mentioned before, kind of someone who seems like he's played a higher risk style. I really like to watch him because of that. Certainly a team very much in that vein. This should be a quick match. Traylor maybe going to try to slow it down a little bit.
Yeah, and the interesting combination that jumped out at me when I saw Medicham was actually the presence of that Tapu Lele. You know, not only will the Psychic Terrain stop anything like Fake Out from connecting, so Medicham doesn't have to worry about getting hit, you know, maybe that first turn. But if it knows any Psychic type moves, you know, it'll get the same type attack bonus and the boost from the Psychic Terrain as well. So I think it's going to be a huge threat whenever it shows up. And looking at the rest of Graham's team, I feel like it almost has to, because it's the only Pokemon that can Mega Evolve that he brought.
Yeah, giving up a lot if it doesn't have. Although, with that in mind, one interesting thing about Medicham in general is, you know, Mega Pokemon a little bit weaker in this year than they've been in the past, so it's a little easier to, you know, maybe try out that Medicham, but we see it right away, potentially threatening a lot of damage, and the tricky Lunala with its Shadow Shield ability going to make it tough to get any damage out early.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting matchup. On Aaron's side of the field, he led the Tapu Koko and the Rayquaza, so no weather yet. The Lunala, though, I'm really glad we're seeing it early, because it's one of those Pokemon that I feel like you really need to see what move it has in order to figure out your strategy around it.
Yeah, I think this is the game one-iest of game ones, where really all of the Pokemon in the field could potentially know a lot of different moves, unless, you know, they've somehow scattered out some information, which seems unlikely in round 2. Probably both of them just going to need to feel this out a little bit. Could see some strange plays as both sides try to play a little conservatively, or maybe in Graham's side especially, just try to go all in, see if you can get game 1 without having to think very hard.
Aaron sending out that Incineroar for that Rayquaza, bringing with it the Intimidate ability, going to drop Medicham's attack by 1 stage, which I think will be huge moving forwards, especially since Graham is going for that Mega Evolution. So I know that Medicham prefers to hit on the physical side of things, so Aaron might just be trying to protect himself from, you know, any unexpected knockouts, especially since this is probably a Pokemon he hasn't seen before. Fake Out going into the Incineroar. Tapu Koko will be switching out as well, using Volt Switch to break the Shadow Shield ability on Lunala, and Aaron's able to mix up his entire board state just in turn 1.
Yeah, kind of nice play by Aaron there, where it winds up dodging the Fake Out, gets the Intimidate out, breaks the Shadow Shield. I mean, doesn't really advance the board state any, but gets rid of some of the problems on Graham's side, so we can start making bigger plays from here.
Gives Graham the opportunity to go for a Tailwind, though, so it might be a little bit of overspeeding, just given the Pokemon that are currently on the field, but Medicham must feel pretty safe to maybe go for something like that high jump kick if Tapu Lele is waiting in the back, do some switching.
Yeah, so yeah, Medicham may well be about 4 times as quick as that Incineroar at this point, but yeah.
Oh, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, but the Lele is a good point, right, where normally you think, oh, it's Tailwind, I'll just Fake Out and attack maybe and burn that first turn of Tailwind and start playing more defensively, but a real good chance of getting a Pokemon blown up if you do that, because you know, Medicham potentially can get around it, but Aaron wisely doesn't go for the Fake Out at all, switching in Tapu Koko instead.
Yeah, so 1 turn later, Aaron has managed to swap the 2 Pokemon on the opposite sides of the field, sending in that Tapu Koko again, and Mega Rayquaza will be making its first appearance, I believe, on stream this weekend, looking beautiful as ever with that Delta Stream ability, going to weaken any Ice type or super effective flying type, or sorry about that, I need some more coffee. High Jump Kick does connect with that Tapu Koko, brings it down to about half of its health, and Lunala revealing the Z Crystal, I believe. Yep.
Yeah, that'll be the Lunalium Z. We get to see one of the most powerful and longest named Z moves in the game.
Can you say it 3 times fast?
I don't know if I can even say it once.
Yeah, I don't think I could say it once, but it is that menacing Moonraze Maelstrom. You just gotta like take a moment and pause and let the enunciation happen. So, but like you said, one of the longest attacks, but certainly one of the most powerful ones as well, and it's gonna put a huge dent into this Mega Rayquaza.
He may take nearly as much damage as the move has letters here, but be interesting to see how much damage it takes as well. You know, some Rayquaza holding a Focus Sash. This one definitely not really creating the impact you'd expect. The Dragon Ascent coming out now.
Yeah, so that Dragon Ascent will connect with the Mega Medicham, going to do some nice damage, but really interesting information about that Mega Rayquaza. It's still able to get the knockout on the Medicham, will lose, drop 1 stage in this defense and the special defense, but I think that Mega Rayquaza must be a little bit bulkier than intended, because that Z move did nothing compared to what I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean, we tried to tell you it was one of the most powerful Z moves in the game, but after watching that, maybe you don't believe us.
Yeah, seriously.
Rayquaza takes that like a champ, and yeah, it does provide some information there where that's a suspicious amount of special defense at the very least, potentially holding an Assault Vest. Also kind of interesting, too, to see how much damage that Medicham did. I mean, you're probably hoping it does a little bit more than just half Tapu Koko's health before fainting, but you know, potentially puts both these Pokemon in range to be knocked out now. And you know, for a Resistance and Intimidate, that was a lot of damage.
Yeah, and one thing that works, I think, in Aaron's favor is, or excuse me, Graham's favor, is the fact that Aaron doesn't have, you know, sunlight to send out on the field. So Graham has the Tailwind up, you know, the Kyogre's out on the field, and it's pretty safe for it to go for something like a Water Spout and try and get a couple of knockouts early on in this game. So switching out, Aaron switching out that Mega Rayquaza for the Celesteela, certainly the bulkier Pokemon that you want to send in to take something like a potential full health Water Spout from that Kyogre. Moongeist Beam will connect with the Celesteela as well. So it looks like Graham just targeting down that Mega Rayquaza probably does not want to give it an opportunity to keep attacking as this game moves forward. But you know, with about 60% of its health left, it's a tough call. This Water Spout's going to do a lot, but might not be enough.
Ooh, it does pick up the critical hit. Yeah, more than enough.
Yeah, definitely more than enough in that case.
That wound up being a really tough spot for Aaron, though, where, I mean, I'm not sure if that crit matters or not, but kind of regardless, you know, he can't switch Incineroar into a Water Spout, or that's just going to be a free knockout. Certainly not protecting Tapu Koko, not really an option, or it will just get knocked out, where even though he did such a nice job of knocking out Medicham, he's really got to stall off this Tailwind to have a chance at this, and he also doesn't really have a great way of stopping Lunala from sending it up again. Still at really high health, you know, even though it lost the Shadow Shield bonus from no longer being at full health, knocking out a Lunala from what looks like about 177 HP, no easy task. It is a sturdy Pokemon.
And you really need the super effective, you know, dark type move from something like an Incineroar to be able to threaten the Lunala that much. And he had to do a lot of switching to get that board position. And even still, Tailwind's still up, Kyogre's still at full health. You know, it's a really tough spot, like you said.
Yeah, you can't fake out Lunala, so it's still going to get to attack here. Likely would be able to knock out Tapu Koko in a single hit. So we see Aaron switching to Rayquaza, trying desperately to wind up in a situation where he still has 2 Pokemon at sort of reasonable health at the end of Tailwind here.
Yeah, the benefit of sending Mega Rayquaza back out is that the rain will leave the field, which, you know, might give it the chance to hold on if it is, you know, more of a bulkier Pokemon. But if this Moongeist Beam does target down that Rayquaza slot, which I would imagine it did because it's not going to do super effective damage against that Incineroar, it's certainly going to be in KO range this next turn. But, you know, Aaron did stall out the remainder of the Tailwind, so if he has a plan, you know, Tapu Koko is one of the faster Pokemon in this metagame. He has to stop Tailwind from going back up, but if he can do that, maybe this is his opening. Yeah,
I mean, that's going to be the tricky part, though, right? Where, you know, maybe you can knock out Lunala somehow, but, like, how do you not just get blown up by Kyogre while that happens? He's running low on health here, where he needs to not allow Kyogre to get in Trick Room and also needs to, you know, not just have his Pokemon be knocked out regardless. Rayquaza going for the Dragon Ascent here. He's probably going to need a critical hit to stay in this game.
Definitely needing a critical hit. Doesn't look like he gets it, but, you know, at least that Kyogre is down in the red. Those Water Spouts aren't going to do as much damage now that Tailwind is back up on the field and Kyogre will be moving first again. starting from the next turn. Going for an Origin Pulse instead, Incineroar dodges it. That might be the opening that Aaron needs. It will be able to secure that knockout on the Mega Rayquaza, and Tailwind is up on the field, but this Incineroar has a chance to deal some amount of damage here. Big questions is, what did it target? What move is it going to use? Darkest Lariat going to deal a nice chunk of super effective damage to that Lunala and is able to secure the knockout. So Aaron just barely trying to claw it back as he brings this game down to 2 versus 2. No rain on the field as well.
Yeah, definitely could be worse, but he's going to need some Origin Pulse misses most likely here, where certainly an Origin Pulse, if it hits, would just end the game. And I guess seeing Tapu Koko here is not awesome, but I guess it doesn't really change things that much, where he's going to need to get a little lucky to get out of this one.
Yeah, but, you know, good positioning overall, good prioritization, I think. Yes, he was almost banking on that Origin Pulse miss, and I think he has to continue to sort of hope for that as his win condition. But fortunately, I mean, Kyogre's at such low health, maybe even a Dazzling Gleam or something should be able to pick up that knockout. If one of these Pokemon's able to hold on, he might have a shot. Yeah,
just needs that miss. You know, get a cheap knockout, and then maybe you're good.
All right, well, Tapu Koko going to protect this turn as the Tapu Koko on Graham's side of the field going for a Wild Charge, a physical move into that Incineroar. Here comes the Origin Pulse. Will it connect? Will it end this game? And it does connect this time. So Graham's going to be able to clean up this game one pretty easily moving forwards. And that physical move on the Tapu Koko, I think, is something I definitely want to talk about because you don't really see that often.
Yeah, I mean, like you kind of see it once in a while. Typically, when you do, it indicates it's a more supportive Tapu Koko. Typically, you know, the Sky Drop, Assault Vest sort of thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that here. We might have seen one of those in round one also, but it was tough to see. Aaron going for the protects. I guess his only out now is to try to protect his way out of this Trick Room and then somehow win the 2v1. Not impossible, but improbable. But you've always got to play to your outs.
Yeah, I mean, he already got the double protect, so what's a few more, right?
Yeah, I guess technically, you know, maybe there's a scenario where like he misses the protect but dodges a Origin Pulse, but I guess we'll have to see here. Protect fails, Wild Charge comes in, not enough for the knockout. Can Kyogre finish it off?
It's going to be a tough call. Kyogre will go for the Ice Beam. Pretty safe play. Good information for Aaron, though, moving forwards. You know, he's probably going to think twice before having that Mega Rayquaza in front of the Kyogre going into game 2. Because that's just something you do not want to be caught off guard by. Yeah,
Aaron actually winds up getting to see a lot of moves there. You know, Ice Beam from Kyogre. I mean, realistically, what else is it going to be? But at least he gets to see it. Actually, finding out for sure of it. You know, Tapu Koko's got that Wild Charge. You know, is pretty good information for Aaron. Kind of like I mentioned at the beginning of the game, Graham's team in particular is so strange that I think it's key to win a series against it to kind of learn stuff in game 1. And as a pretty dominant win for Graham, I would say, where it was never really in doubt, and even with some luck, Aaron didn't really pull it back all that close. I don't think it's impossible Aaron takes the second game, but he's definitely going to need to change his game plan up. Playing it that way again is not going to work.
Well, if you think about it, it really was the pressure from the Tailwind, I think, that you know, put the wins in Graham's favor, so to speak. It's such a strong form of speed control. Like, if your opponent doesn't have a way to mitigate it or otherwise offset that gain in speed, it really puts you in a tough spot.
Yeah, and it's pretty tough to stop with Aaron's team. You know, he can't fake out a Lunala even if there isn't Psychic Terrain, but you know, that's a big concern. He doesn't have his own Trick Room, it looks like, unless Gengar knows it, so that's challenging. You kind of just like have to let it go up, but then how do you defend well enough not to get blown up? You know, it's like Celesteela knows Wide Guard that can help against Kyogre, but it doesn't really do a whole lot when you have to worry about it being flanked with Tapu Koko or with a Mega Medicham dealing a bunch of damage, or that Z move from Lunala. You know, just kind of like a combination of things you normally don't have to deal with. And I think Aaron's team looked pretty well prepared to defend against more common team archetypes, but Graham running this really off meta team is just kind of messing with Aaron's game plan a little bit.
Yeah, nobody expected the Mega Medicham, but here we are going into game 2 of round 2 at the International Championships here in Columbus, Ohio. And, you know, I think it's actually really interesting that Aaron doesn't seem to have his own sort of form of speed control on his team. You know, one of the things that I think is really important in this format is having at least something like Tailwind, Trick Room, Icy Wind, you know, all those speed control forms that we've seen throughout the years. And even this lead that Incineroar and Kyogre against, again, the Medicham and Lunala on Graham's side of the field, not going to be able to stop that Tailwind, which is a big risk.
Yeah, I kind of like this setup a little bit more from Aaron, where it's still not great, and it's even it's kind of scarier until he finds out if Tapu Lele is on the other side or not, although Medicham probably has a faster fake out anyway.
Yeah.
But at least like something good can happen here. You know, if Medicham goes for the fake out on Kyogre to stop Water Spout, then at least potentially Incineroar can just get that dark type move off on Lunala, at least start wearing it down so you have to deal with a second Tailwind. But there's also the threat in the other direction. Well, Medicham can just attack, and even with Intimidate, we saw how much damage it did to Tapu Koko. Probably neither of these Pokemon are going to, like just, trading blows either.
Yeah.
It just seems like, the Medicham kind of fascinatingly is creating all these really tough spots.
Yeah, one thing that Aaron might have done as he switches out the Incineroar is maybe, lead that Incineroar, get the Intimidate down on the Medicham so that when it Mega Evolves, its attack is already lowered by 1 stage, and then send in the Rayquaza. So if that Medicham does forego the Fake Out for something like a high jump kick, let's say, it's not going to be doing super effective damage, and that could put him in a better board spot. But, Graham playing it safe, going for the Fake Out into the Kyogre, so no damage will be dealt this turn. That Shadow Tag ability will persist onwards, and we're at the same spot we were in Game 1, where Aaron just has to really figure out, how am I going to maneuver or otherwise time out this Tailwind?
Yeah, I mean, so we kind of get the turn it looked like we're going to have there, where he doesn't think it's worth it to get the damage on Lunala, which could be true. Because the struggle is if you take the damage, well, you end up in the next turn. Well, how do you avoid just losing to high jump kick and the Z move, and you don't without letting some other Pokemon take damage, and then you kind of just pass the problem forward. But instead, he's taking a little more conservative approach. Still has to worry about that Z move. We know Rayquaza can take one, but I don't know if he could take it and an attack from the Medicham. Potentially, maybe get Incineroar back in, try to get Intimidate out. Still have the issue of controlling Lunala, where while it doesn't want to stay in with Incineroar, especially being immune to that fake out just makes Traylor's defensive tactics not quite the same.
Well, Aaron's definitely sticking with that Incineroar, sending it out once again. So this Mega Medicham will be at -2 stages of attack. And who knows, maybe that'll be enough for this Kyogre to hold on long enough to deal some damage, or maybe it'll just protect itself and, again, play it very slow, try to end the Tailwind. That Lunala, Medicham going for the high jump kick, but Incineroar dodges it. Medicham's going to lose half of its health as it crashes into the ground. And that Psyshock from the Lunala as well, not going to do any damage to the Incineroar.
Ooh, tough spot for Graham there. He played that pretty well, where
he
kind of covered the switch with, well, if you bring the high jump kick for Incineroar, if it's not Incineroar, Psyshock's going to do a bunch of damage. I think Kyogre's going to protect, so I don't want to waste the Z move. Everything goes great except for the move hitting, but this time Medicham finds its mark.
Yeah, it finds its mark and is able to knock out that Incineroar without a critical hit, even at -2 stages of attack. So it just goes to show you how strong Mega Medicham really is. And again, following strong move with strong move, another menacing Moonraze Maelstrom from that Lunala has to target down that Kyogre, and it's going to deal some big damage.
Yeah, this is a tough spot for Aaron. I mean, imagine he was expecting Incineroar to survive there, but Medicham might have been intimidated, but didn't look scared at all. That was incredible damage on one of the sturdiest Pokemon in the format.
It rebounded quite nicely. it hit the ground turn 1, but the next turn, it just was like, all right, I'm going to connect this time. I'm going to get that knockout, and things are going to be great.
It almost helped him out, where Aaron just kind of had to leave the Pokemon there as a sitting duck.
Yeah, unfortunately for this Kyogre, it is too a bit of a sitting duck this turn. It's taking damage from that menacing Moonraze Maelstrom, but not enough to knock it out. But Mega Medicham will dodge that Origin Pulse, so it will remain on the field for one more turn.
Yeah, trading misses here. That's a big one. I mean, imagine from full health, that's an easy knockout in Medicham. So I think on Aaron's side, I'd rather all the attacks miss than none of them. Graham is sitting pretty now, where Medicham at least gets to survive another turn, and while potentially Aaron could threaten a knockout with extreme speed here, you still have to waste an attack to do it, potentially allowing Lunala to either knock out Kyogre, get some easy damage on Rayquaza. Either way, not really threatening Lunala too much, so it's potentially just going to get Tailwind up again. Graham's Medicham is kind of running all over this game, where again, we're kind of seeing a non-restricted Pokemon controlling the pace of play.
It's really cool, actually. Like, Mega Medicham was certainly not one of the Pokemon I was expecting to do well this weekend, but I think given the fact that the rest of the field is fairly bulky right now, these fast and powerful Pokemon are just really shining, which is great. Going for that Mega Evolution again on the Rayquaza on Aaron's side of the field, going to get rid of the rain, going to bring back that Delta Stream, but it's almost like it's going to hurt his own Kyogre more than anything else this turn. Kyogre might have needed that rain boost to try and threaten down that Lunala. Extreme speed, though, from that Mega Rayquaza, going to connect with the Medicham, and it's able to hold on just enough to fire off a high jump kick into that Rayquaza, bringing it down to about 80% of its health. Psyshock from that Lunala following it up. Is it going to be enough Rayquaza, again, able to hold on with just a little bit of health. Origin Pulse will connect this time, will manage to knock out that Mega Medicham and leave Lunala sitting in the yellow.
Yeah, potentially a Medicham surviving there with the invisible Focus Sash, helping save Lunala. Origin Pulse still dealing that reduced damage because it hit 2 Pokemon instead of 1. But at least Aaron's able to survive the Tailwind this time. This time much more likely to be able to stop it from going back up if he wants to. But man, there's so many Pokemon in the back that Graham could have that would be a problem now. Tapu Lele would be devastating here. Tapu Koko would be devastating here. It's rough. All this damage Aaron's taken to make up. We do see Kyogre instead, who I guess depending on its speed stat could be a little more controllable.
It's a tough call. I mean, looking at Aaron's own Kyogre and his Mega Rayquaza, these Pokemon have taken so much damage. Unless he brought something like the Tapu Koko on his own side of the field to threaten that Kyogre, I think he's going to have a really tough time trying to even things out.
Yeah, I mean, he really doesn't want this Kyogre to be faster than his own. Even if you assume both of Aaron's Pokemon are going to need to attack again for him to be able to win this game just for the numbers to work, right? So, a Dragon Ascent and a Water move might get it done, but not if the Kyogre on Graham's side is faster. If it is, the final Pokemon on Aaron's team is going to have to be part of the solution here, but probably neither Rayquaza or Kyogre can take another attack. It's starting to get tough to see ways that Aaron could potentially win this one.
Yeah, one point in Aaron's favor is, given how offensive Graham's team is, you have to wonder there's bulk somewhere, right? So maybe this Kyogre's on the bulkier side, maybe it didn't train in speed, and if that's the case, hopefully Aaron can find an out. For now, he's keeping that Mega Rayquaza safe, probably looking to use that extreme speed later to pick up some knockouts, instead sending in that Celesteela. If it has Wide Guard, this could also be part of his solution. Lunala going for a Moongeist Beam, going to deal, again, some nice damage to the Kyogre and gets the knockout. So that Mega Rayquaza and the Celesteela are Aaron's last 2 sort of lifelines, but at least in his defense, the Origin Pulse did miss again.
Yeah, I mean, Origin Pulse kind of being a fickle mistress on both sides.
Seriously.
It puts us in a really interesting spot, too, where, Celesteela would have taken the full damage from that Origin Pulse. Fortunately, for Aaron, able to avoid that and winds up with a ton of health here instead of basically none. Because of that, if it has Wide Guard, you have to be careful about it with your Graham. That's tempting to use Ice Beam Result, which just opens you up to some things. Unfortunately, this Rayquaza most likely is holding an Assault Vest. So on Aaron's side, it's not like you can take advantage of that and protect. You still have to take the Ice Beam. So kind of anticipating that, what do you do? Only 2 Pokemon remaining. Celesteela going to have a hard time knocking out a Kyogre probably. This is starting to look rough.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen Celesteela in past formats, basically pull miracles, I think, and win games. But I don't think this is the board position for that to happen. Especially not even knowing Graham's last Pokemon. If it's something that can hit Celesteela with super effective damage, that might be a game over.
But if it's something that can't, it's interesting. If he knocks out Lunala, maybe gets a Leech Seed on Kyogre and starts spamming Wide Guard, it can't use its Water-type moves anymore. Maybe there's a situation where this exists.
Maybe, but for now, that Mega Rayquaza going to pick up the knockout on the Lunala thanks to the Dragon Ascent. Its defenses are lowered by 1 stage each, but I think it was within range of a knockout anyway, so that's probably not relevant at this point in time, especially since it is going to be that Ice Beam connecting with it for the KO. Celesteela does have the opportunity here to go for that Leech Seed, like you said, and this could be the beginning of how Aaron pulls us into a Game 3, and all right. It looks like we might be in it. Let's see what Graham has.
And it all depends on what the last Pokemon is here. If it's Tapu Koko again, obviously Aaron is in trouble. But if not, maybe this way he can dig out of this. And perhaps, with a miss or something, it's possible either way. But if it is Tapu Koko, so
yeah.
That's rough for Aaron, where those super effective electric type attacks are going to hurt, regardless of how strong defensively Celesteela is.
Yeah, and it was smart of Graham, I think, to save that Tapu Koko for last as well, because it kept Aaron asking the question, well, did he bring it, did he not bring it? And I think that might have been why he was playing the Celesteela a little bit more conservatively. He didn't know that he would have this matchup, and as it looks like maybe tries to figure out what this Tapu Koko is going to do, going for another Wild Charge, Water Spout from that Kyogre. That's 2 very powerful attacks, and even though the Celesteela is at full health, it's going to be a tough ask, I think. maybe you can like heavy slam or something into the Tapu Koko and
I'm not sure how you dig out of this. It looks like too much damage where, if it had been Nihilego or Tapu Lele as the last, you could definitely see it, but not with Tapu Koko.
In fact, Wild Charge is almost able to get a one-hit knockout on that Celesteela. Water Spout following it up for the knockout, and Graham beats Aaron Traylor 2-0 here at round 2 at the North American International Championships. A bit of an upset, I think. I was not expecting Mega Metacham to do so much work that game.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to say it's upset. Graham's a very accomplished player also.
Definitely.
But maybe,
Mega Metacham.
Yeah, Metacham definitely surprising everyone there, I think, where it was a really key player in that match, too. Sometimes you kind of see those more surprising Pokemon appear in matches, but it kind of like don't really do anything. Metacham was crucial there, where not only does he get that big knockout Incineroar after all the Intimidates, but it kind of just constantly being in the field, the threat of how much damage it can do, really changing that game. Graham is a really cool team. He played it really well, and that was another dominant victory on stream here.
Yeah, I wish we could have seen more of his team, honestly. Like, given the Metacham, it makes you wonder, well, what does the Nihilego do? What does the Tapu Lele do? I mean, we didn't even see those revealed. So usually when I see a trainer bring, like, the same 4 Pokemon in both games like that, you have to wonder if those alternate Pokemon are, maybe for, like, specific matchups or whatever. So it makes me wonder, like, what have you prepared for? I want to see this.
Yeah, I'm pretty eager to see that and how he does in general, too. It's kind of funny he ran into Aaron on stream kind of running a, like, more offensive, like, little off-meta team. That's something I've talked to Aaron about quite a bit, where it's like, I think players are kind of underestimating some of these strange strategies where I think, especially the older players, where I think it kind of, if you call back to the people who are playing a lot in, like, the black-white era, I think in those games, it was usually just there were like the sturdy defensive teams, and then there were the bad teams.
Yes,
but that's very
definitely.
much not true anymore. And I think that's something that everyone kind of needs to keep in the back of their mind, where there are a lot of ways now where, especially with Pokemon like Tapu Lele helping out, you can kind of just control the pace of play and win through aggression instead of just, all the defensive switches and trying to maintain better board state, and kind of see the way that matchup can go wrong for the more defensive team there, where Aaron was never really in either of those games, where Graham just had so much pressure up the whole time that there weren't really any outs that would have led to Aaron stabilizing the board. Really impressive by Graham, and I'll be curious to see how any similar teams can stop him too. It's not like Aaron played badly; he just kind of never really had a chance.
Yeah, and I think it all goes back to that tailwind as well. Speed control still is probably one of the most important things going into this format. And if your opponent's able to use a Pokemon like Lunala, who cannot be faked out, cannot, moves fast as it is already, so only a few Pokemon can attack it beforehand, and has enough defenses to stay in the field, there's only so many ways that you can mitigate that.
Yeah, I think Lunala is another underestimated Pokemon too. So even the legendary Pokemon in this team kind of standing out as a maybe unheralded Pokemon that deserved a little more attention.
Definitely. Well, we've done enough talking about Mega Metacham. I'd love to hear more about it from Anna, who has Graham ready backstage for an interview, so please take it away.
Thanks, guys. I am here with Graham. Tell us about that match from your point of view. How are you feeling?
Oh, feeling so good about the match. I've practiced against Ryoga a couple times, and it just went to plan. I'll take the 2-0. It was great. Good feeling.
We all wanted to know about the use of your Mega Metacham. Tell us about that, and tell the people at home why you chose to bring that Pokemon.
Oh, its ability. Its ability is pure power, so it doubles its attack stat. So it's got 100 base attack, times it by 2. It hits really hard. I like killing stuff, so, and it does the job. Simple as that.
And tell us how it fits in with the rest of your team. Why does it work so well?
I like pairing it with Lunala, just basically because whatever Lunala can't hit, Metacham hits it super effectively. So, the Pokemon that really trouble Lunala is